Now let's turn to why bother with this. What does it do? What benefits does a scorecard have? Well, I've seen it be beneficial and useful in developing the guidance or guiding the strategic plan development. At one institution, the scorecard data was used to identify areas where it was fairly consistently performing below the expectations. The information was then given to its Board of Trustees, which used that to try to identify the 5 strategic goals that it wanted the college to develop its strategic plan around. This was a very powerful connection between using the data to see where the institution was performing well compared with where it was underperforming, and then to develop a plan to try to develop corrective actions. The scorecard's benefits also include increased internal alignment. These visible targets and performance that inform each operational unit, and then they can then in turn develop plans that help feed up to the KPIs and improved performance in each of those areas. Here's an example of internal alignment. If we look at this first arrow, we'll see that this is oftentimes what a lot of our higher education institutions look like. We've all heard the expression that sometimes leading higher education institutions is like herding cats. They all tend to go off in their own directions and do what they want. Well, using a balanced scorecard and reviewing it frequently will help you start to see people starting to align their behavior. Trust me, it really does happen. Now, some people put a great deal of effort toward it, and some people put less effort, but it depends and it varies, but nonetheless they are starting to align their actions and their behavior with the overall goals of the institution. The balanced scorecard also has the benefit of helping establish a culture of evidence at the college. Remember, in achieving the dream, that's one of the primary tenets of the initiative, and this helps us push that kind of thing right to the forefront and show in one place the key items that we are trying to accomplish in our institutions. If we think about the many items in our personal lives, many times just being able to put them in a visual reminder helps us keep ourselves focused on the evidence that we have of our own performance. So now let's turn to some things about next steps. I said earlier that a balanced scorecard is never completely done. I mean, certainly you have a rollout of it and you have a very good process of it, but it can always be improved. At least annually, you really need to look at the measures themselves. Are there better measures for what it is that you're doing? If so, use those instead. Eliminate the measures that aren't working. If there's something that is not measuring appropriately or validly what it is that you want to be doing, then get rid of it. Reduce the clutter. It helps improve your organizational focus on what is most important. All the way along, though, keep in mind, you want to have a level of balance and you want to have some leading and lagging indicators, which is what we'll talk about in a minute. Evaluating some of the measures, you may want to refine them a little bit by improving whether they are a leading indicator or a lagging indicator. Now, the institution at which I've worked tends to weigh very, very heavily on the side of outcomes or outputs. Those are all very good. But for example, if we sat and waited until the graduation rate improved to see any change on the balanced scorecard, we'd be waiting quite a while because we need to be able to look at some of those leading indicators as well. So working with the balance of lead and lag, the institution also looked at some of the key items such as the grades that students earned in their gatekeeper courses, the retention from semester to semester and from year to year. Those indicators were lead indicators that ultimately will lead up to an improved graduation rate. Also review the signal values. Every year, you need to look at those and make sure that they are not set at too ambitious a level or too low a level. If they're too easy or too ambitious, either way it can be a problem. Learn from this and reset these, and use the time that you can reset these as an opportunity to work with the process stakeholders. They really have to own these. If they are too easy, gosh, you know, it's so easy you might as well just not even try. But if they're too ambitious, you can get easily frustrated. Look at some of the other models out there and learn from them. And I do recommend reviewing them annually You may end up staying the same, and that's fine, but you also need to look at them and make sure that you really do have the right levels. Another next step is to increase the alignment of departmental or unit data with overall performance indicators. Let's say, for example, you have something like retention from semester to semester. You want to be able to measure that the same from one campus to another, or the same from one department to another. Those kinds of things need to be aligned as well. Another thing that you can consider doing is developing what we call cascading scorecards. And that means that this would be an individual scorecard that has one of the KPIs, but it also has multiple other measures that are important to that particular unit. For example, your occupational area might be interested in a closer monitoring of the students that are in some of the occupational programs. Developing a scorecard that includes items that are of real importance to them, as well as the key performance indicators to which they are helping feed, will be a way that you can get some of this information across in a very useful manner. So what have I learned in all of this, and what are some of the lessons we've learned? First and foremost, monitor it regularly. Make sure that the president or the top person in your organization is committed to this and monitors it frequently. Make sure the measures are balanced. Align the measures with your plan, and keep the scorecard display simple and straightforward. Remember that KISS principle here. Finally, what is measured gets noticed, what is noticed gets acted upon, and what is acted upon gets improved. And that's what we're about, is improving our students' performance. So, if you would like to know more, keep in touch with me. I want to hear more from you about what you're doing. It's always a chance for me to learn, and I think we can give each other some pointers and feedbacks. There's also a list of several books that I've found quite valuable in this area, and I hope you'll consider referencing those as well. Thank you very much, and I hope this has been useful for you. And I look forward to hearing more about your successes in developing your own balanced scorecards.